After explaining how he and his people separated themselves from Laman and Lemuel and the sons of Ishmael and their people, and having told how the people of Nephi became established in the land, Nephi quotes a prophecy of the Lord. And cursed shall be the seed of him that mixeth with their seed, for they shall be cursed even with the same cursing. And the Lord spake it, and it was done. This prophecy anticipates future mixing and intermarriage with the Lamanites. But the immediacy of Nephi's personal observation that the Lord spake it, and it was done, suggests that the process was already underway at the time Nephi left, or shortly after the separation. That is, unidentified people had at this early period already joined with the Lamanites in their opposition to Nephi and his people, and had become like them. And Nephi saw this event as fulfillment of the Lord's prophecy. Since Nephi dissensions are not mentioned in the small plates until several generations later during the time of Jerem, Nephi's statement about unidentified peoples intermarrying with the Lamanites seems to indicate the presence of other non-Lehite peoples who had joined or were joining with the Lamanites at the time of Nephi. Under the assumption that additional non-Lehite peoples had united with both the Nephites and the Lamanites, Nephi and Jacob's teachings relating to Isaiah take on greater significance and meaning. After explaining that we had already had wars and contentions with the Lamanites, Nephi then inserts a lengthy sermon delivered by his brother Jacob. Jacob indicates while he had previously spoken about many things, Nephi wanted him to preach from Isaiah. In fact, Jacob says Nephi had even selected the scriptural passages he was to discuss. The words that Jacob was assigned to preach were prophecies of Isaiah which concerned the relationship between scattered Israel and the Gentiles. Jacob at that time asked his people to liken these passages from Isaiah to their present situation. He also suggests that the application of these teachings concerned both things which are as well as things which are to come. As Latter-day Saints, we quite appropriately focus on the latter. But what was the early Nephite context that made the likening of Isaiah's words meaningful to themselves? Jacob prophesied that in the latter days some Jews will reject the Messiah and be destroyed, while others will believe and be saved. Jacob also interpreted Isaiah as referring to two distinct groups of Gentiles, those who nourish and unite with Israel, and those who fight against Zion. In the latter days, both groups of Gentiles will play an active role in the drama of Israel's gathering and redemption. Wherefore, he that fighteth against Zion, both Jew and Gentile, both bond and free, both male and female, shall perish. For they are the whore of all the earth. For they who are not for me are against me, saith our God. Certainly Jacob's sermon looks to the future, but I am persuaded that likening Jacob's teachings to themselves, Nephite contemporary listeners would have drawn the obvious parallel with their own situation. As a branch of scattered Israel in a new land of promise, they sought to establish Zion, but were opposed, hated, and persecuted by their former brethren. Even when Jacob applied these prophecies to the latter days, his words had immediate relevance for his contemporary listeners, who would likely have seen their Lamanite persecutors as the Jews of Jacob's prophecy, and the Gentiles as those non-Lehite peoples who had now joined with the Lamanites against the people of Nephi. However, in his application of Isaiah to the Lehites, Jacob explained that not all Gentiles would oppose Zion. Some Gentiles would be joint heirs with the people of Lehi in the blessings of the land. But behold, he says, this land, said God, shall be a land of thine inheritance, and the Gentiles shall be blessed upon the land. How would the Gentiles be blessed upon the land? By being numbered among the children of Lehi. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, saith our God, I will afflict thy seed by the hand of the Gentiles. Nevertheless, I will soften the hearts of the Gentiles, that they shall be like unto a father to them. Wherefore the Gentiles shall be blessed and numbered among the house of Israel. Wherefore I will consecrate this land unto thy seed, and them who shall be numbered among thy seed forever, for the land of their inheritance. For it is a choice land, saith God unto me, above all other lands. Wherefore I will have all men that dwell thereon, that they shall worship me, saith God. Note that the Lord's promises delivered to the people of Nephi by Jacob, this promise was a perpetual one that would have application from their own time forward. Jacob's sermon in the context of the early Nephites can in part be read as addressing the immediate question of how Lehite Israel is to relate and interact with non-Lehite peoples in the Promised Land. The answer, Jacob taught, is that they may, if they so choose, join with the people of God in seeking to build up Zion as joint inheritors of the land. Once they do so, they too become Israel and are numbered with Lehi's seed. Some have wondered why, if other people were really present in the land during Book of Mormon times, why they're not mentioned more frequently in the record. But this teaching, introduced by the Nephites' first priest, would be foundational for later Nephite prophets, and may have set a precedent for viewing all other people in the land, ideally in polar terms such as Zion, Babylon, Nephite, Lamanite. Previous cultural identity, in the Lehite perspective at least, would be swallowed up in this polar frame of reference. An example of this numbering process can be seen in the case of Nephi's righteous brother Sam. When Lehi blesses Sam before his death, he states, "Blessed art thou, and thy seed, for thou shalt inherit the land like unto thy brother Nephi, and thy seed shall be numbered with his seed, and thou shalt be even like unto thy brother, and thy seed like unto his seed, and thou shalt be blessed in all thy days." Lehi, who blessed all of his children, only uses the term numbered with Sam. Interestingly, when Lehite tribal designations are mentioned, there is no tribe of Sam. Why? Apparently because when one is numbered with a people, one takes upon himself the name and identity of that people. Similarly, Gentiles, once numbered with Israel or Lehi, are thereafter identified with their covenant fathers, without respect to biological origin. From then on, they too are simply Israel. Some Isaiah passages cited by the Nephite prophets would make better sense to a Nephite if there were others in the land. Here I will just mention three before I close. The first one is 2 Nephi 24:1, cites Isaiah as follows: "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob." No doubt such prophecies may quite properly be applied to Latter-day Saint readers of the Book of Mormon, as we liken the Scriptures to ourselves, but they need not refer to us exclusively. How would Nephi and Jacob's audience have likened the Scripture to their own situation, as their prophets invited them to do? They would no doubt recognize the great mercy of the Lord in bringing them out of the land of Jerusalem and saving them from destruction. And they would also see the Lord's hand in setting them in a new land of promise where they could establish Zion. Significantly, however, this prophecy would also suggest to the ancient readers or listeners that there were strangers in the land who had joined or would join with them in accepting the teachings of Nephi and could be numbered with the house of Jacob. 2 Nephi 12, Nephi quotes Isaiah's prophecy, "And it shall come to pass in the last days, when the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem."